Hey guys, Vern. I thought I would do another talking vlog about what it's like between the language difference between the Thai people and if you speak English. Is it difficult? Is it a pain in the butt? Is it nearly impossible? Let's check it out.
Hey, Vern.
Alright, so I want to start out by saying that the language barrier between English and Thai is like night and day. It's probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to navigate. Now, another problem lies with the translations. When you look at their translations from Thai into English and you try to pronounce them the way you see them and understand them written to be. So for example, when I get on the SkyTrain and there's a town and it's pronounced Anu. And when you look at the way that they wrote it out in English, it says on, O-N, nut, N-U-T, on nut. Now, if I go down to the people at the station and I ask them which train goes to on nut, they look at me like, what? What? They don't know. And so that's one of the big challenges that you're gonna face. The translations written from Thai to English, I would say 80% of them are not even usable, because if you try to speak the words the way they're written to try to convey the town that you think it's supposed to say, they won't even know what you're talking about. So that's one of the first big issues that I encountered. The other issue I encountered is the translations do not seem to connect properly. So, for example, today I typed out to this guy, I said, boat racing near airport. And all he thought was airport. This is how you get to the airport. I'm like, no. Where they race the boats. Can you show me how to find this place? He had no clue. And this was a Grab delivery driver. These guys know where everything is, right? He didn't even understand enough to help me to find that. And so you're kind of on your own. A lot of the translations do not mesh. They'll see just the basic part of what you're saying and they'll try to connect it, but there's not enough to connect it. There just isn't. Now I know I'm gonna have some people say, oh, I go to Thailand, I don't have any problems. Okay, if you come here and you just go to like the main sites, it's not as difficult to get by. But if you wanna go outside of that, go to places that you maybe need to take a bus, a SkyTrain, you need to walk, you need to have multiple connections, then good luck. And if you don't understand exactly where you need to go and you need to try to communicate to somebody on the ground your intentions of where you need to go, that's when everything just falls apart. Now today, I thought I knew where I was going. I looked at the map, and I could read a map pretty good. I pretty well understand a map. So I took the BTS one stop, and there was a highway nearby, and my thinking was, I'll go to that highway road, and I'll get on a bus going down that road. Just a simple bop. So I get there, and it's this huge layered freeway intersection. And I'm looking at the freeway, the road where I want to get at, and it's like 3 stories high off the ground. And I'm looking up at it going, how the hell am I gonna get up there? And how am I gonna get onto a freeway to go down the freeway? And so the next thing I did was I walked down this path, and at the end, at the bottom, there looked to be a bus stop. Oh, cool. So I go down there, I ask the locals about the bus, and I see a sign, and it said bus 34. Okay, cool. So I ask them, I say, bus 34? And they look at me, no. Now, is that no bus? Is that bus don't run? And after about 5 minutes of sitting there trying to figure things out, they point at me, go, this bus here. And I'm like, okay, cool. They know where it's going. They figured it out. So I get on the bus, and the bus is going the wrong way. And I didn't realize it till after about 3 minutes. I've got my map on and I'm watching this stuff, and I realized that we're not going down a little bit and going to turn around and go back the other way. We're going the wrong way. So I pull out my phone and I'm like, wrong way. I need to get off. Where can I get off? And they're looking at me like this bus has a destination. It will not stop until it reaches the destination, kind of a thing. And I'm like, oh boy, where the hell is this destination? Where's this bus going? And they can't communicate enough to tell me where it's going. And between three of them and my translator, we couldn't communicate the basic, simple thought of next stop, where? Where does the bus go? So I rode this bus until 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden it made this quick stop to pick somebody up. And I bolted off the bus. I'm like, I am getting the hell off of this bus because it's taking me farther and farther and farther out of my way. And I got no idea where it's even going because these people can't even tell me. And I'm just like, okay, this sucks. So today I spent an hour getting back to where I started because of this whole bus trip, because of the language barrier. So yeah, it's really, really, really difficult. And there's no way to make it simpler. I can't learn Thai overnight. There's nothing in their language that is simple for me to even connect up to. It's like learning everything. All the sounds, all the letters, everything is starting over from zero. And their translations are terrible. I've only seen 20% of the translations that were usable if I read the translation the way I read it, that I could use it to where they could almost understand enough to make sense to where I needed to go. Other than that, it's a mess. So yeah, it's been just crazy. It's been real crazy. So the other thing, when you get on these sky trains, there's like 6 different exits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you need to know which gate to get out, which gate to exit on, because if you get off the one exit, you might be on the other side of the freeway, and the only way to get back across the freeway is to go back up the stairs, through the SkyTrain, into the service station, and then out the right exit. So, you know, I get into these places, and sometimes I forget which way the train's going when I stand on the track, and I have to ask, is this way to Sukhumvit, or is it this way to ASOC, is how I say it. I think they call it ASA. And oftentimes I don't say it correctly enough from how it's written in the English translation, that we're already at odds, even in their own stations. So not many people know English good here, and that makes it a huge problem if you're going to come here. And that's just my experience. And it's even worse the more you're traveling, the more you need to make these connections to people, to ask these questions, to get directions, to get decisions. It just, if you can do it all on your own, you can get by. But if you need output from other people, it's going to be really difficult. It's going to be real difficult. Now, there are people that you can find that know English, but they're not everywhere. So when it comes to dating, guys ask, what about dating a girl from Thailand? And I think about that, and I think, you know, the Thai girls are some of the most beautifully built Asian girls I think I've ever seen anywhere on the earth. I'm a photographer, so for me, I visually notice these things, and the women are beautiful. They're just beautiful. But how are you going to connect in a relationship when they don't know much of your language and you don't know much, if any, of their language? Now, a relationship is hard enough with a partner that knows each other's languages. So, I don't know. I would really be against having that, because it probably wouldn't work out very well unless you're real patient and you just like to nod a lot and they don't need deep communication, then maybe. But I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just, I would say, if you want to date an Asian girl, find somebody that has some language similar to yours. At least you have a foundation to begin with. If you both are starting out with nothing, just you like the way they look, well, that's all you're going to have, because there's nothing going on like that. So if there's no communication, I don't know how a relationship could work, because women are very communication oriented. They need that feedback all the time. They always need to talk to other girls, and they need to kind of put out subtle hints. And how are you going to get any of those subtle hints if there's no verbal communication? I'm sure that some of them will communicate with a body language, but there's going to also be some verbal. And if that's not there, I don't know, you guys. So what can you do? What can you do to make things easier? Well, speaking slower isn't going to help at all. So oftentimes we try to speak slowly to think that they will have heard what we said and understand, but oftentimes they haven't a clue what we're saying, and we have no idea what they're saying because oftentimes we haven't even heard their language spoken or the words they're using. So what you can do is just try to keep everything as simple as possible. Go store. Where is store? Really basic, simple language like you would communicate to someone very young, and that will help in the transition. Maybe keep your sentences as short as possible. Like, yeah, as you can tell, I've been frustrated, but I'm still getting a lot out of coming here, and this experience is really good. Thailand has a lot of amazing things. It's worth coming here, but be prepared for the challenges. If you're aware that it's going to be difficult, maybe it won't be so bad. But if you're not sure and you come into it expecting it to be smooth, it can be real frustrating real fast. And I had heard different expats tell me that Thailand and Vietnam and some of the other countries were hard to communicate, and they had spent time there and they left because of the language barrier. And I'm feeling that I probably wouldn't stay long-term in Thailand because of the language. It's just too different, and it would take me too long to learn it. I prefer to be in a country that has less going for it in a certain sense, but has a better language structure. To me, that is the value. Communication to me is important, so I would choose that. I would rather have it be a little more Wild West with a little more freedom. But that's just me. Maybe for you, the connection to communicate is not as important. Maybe for you, having a better hospital, having a better infrastructure is your important thing. And that's what you need to decide. But if you're thinking about Thailand, come here and spend a couple months. Try to go way off places. Try to think about ways that you can stretch where you need to go to find out how difficult it is to communicate your needs at the time that you need to know something or to learn something or to get something, and then you'll really grasp what I'm saying. All right, so that's my thought for today.